Okay. So this parliamentary committees will try to understand some basic points with respect to the committees. Okay. There are several committees. We will not go into details of all the committees. If something is in news, you might have to read a little bit about it. Let me explain to you what I mean by this. So parliamentary committees. Okay. So parliament is quite a big body, right? It has got so many members, right? If you combine both of them, more than 800 members are there. So it is very difficult to deliberate on certain important issues in much more detail and for a longer period of time because they have so many functions. Okay, they have to discuss about so many things, so many laws that needs to be passed. So parliament only takes up only important things, discuss it and finish itself. Okay, but then you need a detailed scrutiny. Okay, that scrutiny is done by the parliamentary committees. Now, when we discussed about ordinary bill, constitutional amendment, etc., I told you in one of the stages, even in the budget, the one of the stages is after the budget has been discussed or after the bill has been presented, the bill is sent to a committee for detailed scrutiny, right? So this is what is that parliamentary committees. So these are smaller bodies, okay, with an objective to scrutinize the certain issues, okay, relating to parliament in much more detail, whether it is a bill, okay, whether it is a amendment, whether it is the budget, all these are scrutinized in detail by the parliamentary committees. So this parliamentary committee is not mentioned in the constitution. It's not there in the constitution. It is dealt under the rules of the house. Okay, the rules that are there in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. So it is dealt under the rules of procedure. Okay, see, these are all points that they will ask in the examination. Is it mentioned in the constitution? No. It is dealt under the rules of the procedure. I mean, there are some which are mentioned in the constitution, like PAC, Public Accounts Committee and all. So some are mentioned in the constitution, but its procedure, the rules to form it, etc., is dealt under the rules of the house. Okay, it is the committees are mentioned in some parts of the constitution, but as such, there is no separate chapter or something like that to deal with the committees. Is that understood? So, dealt with the rules of the procedure. Some of them, some are mentioned in the constitution here and there. Okay, like for example, Public Accounts Committee. I'll discuss that in a while. So, Public Accounts Committee has been mentioned in the constitution where auditing of the accounts, budget, post-budgetary accountability is put under that. Okay, anyways, we'll come to that later. So, it is dealt under the rules of the procedure. So, these committees, it can either be elected or it can be nominated. Some of them are appointed by the presiding officer. Okay, that is the speaker or the chairman. Some of them can be elected from amongst the members of the house. The members will elect. Okay, and some of them may be even nominated. Okay, so it varies. It can be either appointed, elected, or nominated. And they all function under the direction of the presiding officer. So basically, the presiding officer directs the functioning of this committee. The presiding officer will set agenda, will tell them what to do, etc. So basically, the presiding officer, speaker, is the person. And every committee will have a chairman. Every committee will have a chairman. Chairman can be elected from amongst the committee members or it can be nominated by the presiding officer. So it varies from committees to committees. There is no fixed procedure that is there in Sun. It varies from committee to committee. So that is some basic points you have to remember. I have put an article over here, Bindu article, a few months back. This was in news. You might have heard about the privacy issue, IT and privacy issue, Pegasus. Okay, it was about where various IT firms, spy firm, were used to snoop into. That means look into opposition leaders and all that. So that was an issue, and the matter was sent to IT panel to deliberate on Pegasus issue. IT panel. So, committee on information and technology. Okay, so they deliberated on that, like what is happening, what should be done, and then they will give recommendation to the parliament, and then the parliament will take up. The homework is done by the committees. If any additional, they can call experts, okay, from IT and other, even Facebook, I mean, in one of the committees, the Facebook head of India also was called to depose in front of these committees. Okay, one of, not this committee, I mean, some another IT committee, it was asked to depose and give its opinion, ask questions, what is that, what is this, etc. So like that, provision is there where you can call outsiders, private individuals, civil servants to give. So the standing committee on information and technology, this is headed by Shashi Tharoor. So he, well, I mean, so deliberate on the issue of Pegasus spyware, where nearly 300 persons of India, most of them being from the opposition party and even the ruling party, those who were planning to jump. Okay, so they were all snooped, matlab spied on. Okay, so officials of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, etc., were summoned. Okay, to depose in front of the chairman. Okay, the subject citizens, data security and privacy. So this is the matter. I mean, these are not important right now, but at least you should have awareness. So there was an issue called as citizen data security and privacy. On that matter, this IT committee was set up, which was a parliamentary committee. It called the officials to explain what is happening, what is being done. Is it true? Okay, this news, is it true, like that? So it can deliberate on any matters of which comes under its direction. Okay, the bills, okay, any bill relating to information technology also will be sent to Information Technology Standing Committee. If there is any budget relating to information technology, that will be sent to that committee for scrutinizing. Please remember, most of these committees, whatever recommendation that they give, the recommendation is not binding on the parliament. It is just the base homework is done by them, and the parliament is expected to take action on that. Now, broadly, the parliamentary committee is of two types. One is ad hoc and the other one is standing. Okay, so there are basically two types of parliamentary standing committee, that is standing committee and ad hoc committee. Standing committee is permanent, meaning it is there all the time. Okay, whereas ad hoc, as the name itself suggests, it is set up when there is a need. Okay, it is set up only when there is a need. Okay, so for example, COVID situation is there, they want to analyze whether whatever was done during COVID was enough, was there any shortcoming, any suggestions that is required to improve the health infrastructure. Okay, so something like that can be set up. Similarly, let's say there is a scam that has happened in medical devices during COVID situation and it has come out in the public. So that time an inquiry committee will be set up. You understood? Only for that purpose. When Bofors scam happened, a committee was set up. Then when 2G, 3G scam happened, there was a demand for this to be set up, to inquire into this matter. So if you look at this, ad hoc is only for a particular purpose, temporary. Once that is done, the committee comes to an end. So it is ad hoc. It can either be inquiry or advisory. Like as I told you, when there is a scam, they will set up an inquiry committee. When there is an issue that requires expert opinion, like for example, in case of healthcare issues, okay, they want to provide advice, an advisory committee can be set up. So therefore, it provides flexibility to the presiding officer, to the house, to set up these committees as per requirement. Okay, so many such inquiry committees had been set up, Bofors scam, then when there was this stock scam, Harshad Mehta scam, an inquiry committee was set up, okay, and which will give its advice. Is that understood? So you have these committees set up either in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Some will have members from both the houses, some will be exclusively Lok Sabha, some will be exclusively Rajya Sabha, all that. So that depending on what committees that you are asked about, you should know the facts. So these facts, basic things are there in the books, some of them, like how many members are there, whether it is elected or whether it is nominated members, how the chairman is elected, what is the function of it, like that you should be able to appreciate. Now I have put some of them over here so that we will get an idea as to what we need to study. Okay, Public Accounts Committee. So here, this Public Accounts Committee has 22 members. See, this is what you need to remember from the exam point of view. So factual information can be asked, especially those committees which are in news. If they are in news for any purpose, like what we discussed about the IT committee, like that, if anything is new in news, then they can ask such questions. So like Public Accounts Committee, okay, has 22 members, of which 15 are from Lok Sabha and 7 are from Rajya Sabha. And the members are all elected from within the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, from amongst the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha by means of proportional representation and transferable voting system. Okay, by means of single transferable voting system. The same thing what we had discussed with respect to president, vice president and all that. So proportional representation by means of single transferable voting system. Okay, so that's how the election is conducted for the members. So Lok Sabha, 15 of them will be elected, Rajya Sabha 7, and their duration is 1 year. Okay, their duration, tenure is 1 year. After every 1 year, it is changed. And the chairman is appointed by the speaker. Okay, the chairman of this house, of this committee is appointed from amongst these members, amongst the 22 members, the speaker will appoint the chairman. So there is a convention that the chairman of the PAC will be from the opposition. It will not be from the ruling party. The reason being its function. The function of Public Accounts Committee is to check the audit report of CAG. So what happens is the government's expenditures are there. Okay, these expenditures, as we discussed in the previous class, is sanctioned by the parliament. Okay, once the parliament sanctions the expenditures, okay, the amount is used from the Consolidated Fund of India. That means it is appropriated from the Consolidated Fund of India. So the CAG will audit this account. Is that understood? So the accounts is audited by the CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, which is a constitutional body. So it audits the account. What is the purpose? Technically, you leave it. What is it? What does it see? Whether the money that has been spent by the government, is it approved by the parliament? If it has been approved, has it been used for the same purpose? Okay, and whether there has been any misappropriation of fund, whether corruption was there in the usage of the fund, and whether there was efficiency in the utilization of the fund. So it will look into all these things and submit the report to the president, who in turn submits it to the parliament. So the parliament, if you look at the CAG report, it is very bulky. And if you give it to the parliamentarians, it's very difficult to discuss each of them. So you have a specialized committee, or rather you have a smaller committee to scrutinize the entire CAG report and then give its opinion. So that is what PAC does. So basically what does PAC does? Whether the government has spent the money properly or not. That is why opposition party will head the committee. Did you understand? Opposition party will, therefore, the scrutiny will be better. Yes, if it is ruling party, they'll say thumbs up, right? But if it is opposition, they will at least make an effort to look into this matter. All right. So all these, this is the main function of it. So they will try to find out if there is any technical, if there is any inappropriation, misappropriation of the funds, and whether economy and wisdom was used in order to spend this money, etc. So basically, CAG submits the annual audit report of the central government to the president, who in turn submits it to the parliament. The same thing is there even in the state. The CAG audits even the state's accounts and submits its report to the governor, who in turn submits it to the state legislature. Even in the state legislature, there is this Public Accounts Committee which will which will review the report of the CAG. Is that understood? So that is why CAG is called as the friend of, friend and what do you say, advisor and assistant of the PAC. Okay, so that is how the post-budgetary control over the government is kept by the Parliament. Remember when I discussed yesterday, post-budgetary control of the Parliament, of the government by the Parliament, right? This is one such example. Post-budgetary, after the budget also, the government is kept under control by the Parliament. This is one such example. All right. Next, similarly, another committee called as the Estimate Committee. See, why the difference here is the Estimate Committee has 30 members and all of them are from the Lok Sabha. Okay, all of them are from the Lok Sabha. Why? Because if you again look at the function of the Estimate Committee, they function to examine the estimates of the budget. So in budget, whatever has been presented, okay, so as I told you, the budget will have estimates of the future financial year, from where the money is going to come and where the money is going to be spent. So the estimates that are there in the budget is examined by the Estimates Committee, as the name itself suggests. And as I told you, budget is the prerogative of the Lok Sabha. So we have only members from Lok Sabha being represented in the Estimate Committee. Here also the tenure is 1 year. Okay, the tenure is also 1 year over here. All right, and the members are all elected, okay, from amongst the members, okay, by the Lok Sabha once every year from amongst the members itself by proportional representation and single transferable voting system. Okay, voting system. All right, so the idea of these proportional representation by means of single transferable voting is because every political party therefore will have representation in these committees because it is proportional to the members. Okay, so let's say if BJP has 60%, Congress has 30% or whatever, 20%, TMC has 15%, other regional parties has another 15%, let's say. Because it is proportional representation by means of single transferable voting system, the committee also will have similar representation. 60% of the committee members will come from BJP, 20%, approximately 20% will come from that, and 15 from that, 15 like that. So that is the idea. So that even in these committees, okay, there will be proportional representation with respect to the political parties that are represented in the House. Is it correct? Yes or no? So because it is proportional representation, which we have discussed. So 30 members, all of them from Lok Sabha, proportional representation by means of single transferable voting. Here you have to remember the chairman appointed from amongst the members by the speaker, but from the ruling party. Is that okay? So PAC had from the opposition, here it has from the ruling parties, always from the ruling party. And the function, as we discussed, okay, it will examine the estimates of the budget. And it will suggest any economy in the budget. Also, you should remember one point, in both PAC as well as in Estimates Committee, ministers cannot be members. Is that okay? Obviously, because PAC will be reviewing the expenditures made by a minister. So how can he be a member? It will lead to conflict of interest. So here also the Estimate Committee is because the ministers would have put up the demands for grants. Now if somebody has to suggest economy, will he do it on his own? He'll only tell I need 100 crore, then he only will tell no, I don't need 100 crore. It cannot happen. So ministers are not members, cannot be members of these committees. Okay, understood? Another important committees, another group of committees. So this you will have to remember. Okay, maybe not from the exam point of view alone, but also the general understanding of how Parliament functions. So you have something called as departmental standing committees. This we have mentioned it several places when we discussed about the bills, budgets, constitutional amendments, etc. I talked about the standing committees. So there are 24 standing committees. There are 24 standing committees that are there in our parliament, and out of which 8 of them functions under the Rajya Sabha, okay, and the 16 function under the Lok Sabha. Okay, so that the responsibilities are divided between the two. Here again you can think about ordinary bill and all that. Both Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha have equal power, so they gave this power to both of them. So here 8 of them work and under Rajya Sabha, 16 work under the Lok Sabha. It has got 31 members. Each committee has 31 members, 21 from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha. Okay, and again here also the members, okay, 21 are from the Lok Sabha. They are all nominated members. Okay, the members are all nominated. So those members who belong to the Rajya Sabha are nominated by the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Those who belong to the Lok Sabha are nominated by the speaker. I'll repeat again. They're all nominated by the presiding officers and they have a term of 1 year. Okay. Ministers again here also are not eligible to become the members. All right. So what is the function? I have already discussed these, okay, here and there. So if we have to summarize the function of these departmental standing committees, so one is it will scrutinize the bills relating to those departments. It will scrutinize the budget relating to that. All right. So discuss the budget, bills, annual reports submitted by the ministry. Every ministry will submit annual reports with respect to its performance, expenditures and other things. So the annual report will be also scrutinized, and also any policy matters relating to that. Okay, now for example, if social media regulation is being discussed, so that will be sent to again IT committee. So whatever we discussed earlier, no, this IT panel, that is the Standing Committee on Information and Technology. It is a departmental standing committee. So anything to do with this Ministry of Information and Technology, whether it is a bill, whether it is their budget, whether it is any policy, okay, now privacy matter or social media regulation, anything is discussed, it will be discussed under the Standing Committee on Information Technology. Is that understood? So all these are the functions. So budgets relating to that ministry, bills, reports, and even policies, okay, relating to those ministries will be discussed. Okay, and it will advise the parliament. It is only an advisory body. It is not binding. You understood? So whatever that IT panel does, it is simply a advisory body. It is not binding on the government. It's not binding on the government. Is that okay? Or binding on the ministry and the parliament as such. So this departmental standing committee plays a very important role in parliamentary system because it allows the parliament and parliamentarians to detailedly scrutinize any issues because of shortage of time and shortage of expertise, right? These standing committees are better placed to analyze and scrutinize various issues relating to that particular ministry. So if you look at this slide over here, I just put this table for an example, that's all. Okay. So if you look at this, there are 24, no? Like for example, Committee on Agriculture. Okay. So that Committee on Agriculture, which all ministries will come under it? Agriculture Ministry and Food Processing Industry, Department of Food Processing and Industry. So any matter, any bill, any policy relating to this agriculture will be discussed in the Committee on Agriculture. Is that understood? Similarly, your Committee on Information Technology. So Ministry of Communication and Technology, Information and Broadcasting, so like that. Okay. Similarly, Committee on Defense, Committee on Energy, Committee on Commerce, Committee on Home Affairs, Committee on Human Resource, right? Committee on Industries, Heavy Industries, Small Industries, Agro and Rural industries, etc. So like this, you have several departmental standing committees to scrutinize these. So this is an example of parliamentary committees. So like that, you'll have to remember some of the parliamentary committees which are in news. So you have many other, if I have to just read out some of them, Committee on Public Undertaking. Okay, so this basically, as the name itself suggests, a committee to review the working of public undertaking. Public undertaking means government companies. Government companies like HAL, BHEL, State Bank of India. So these are all public undertakings, public companies. So Committee on Public Undertaking will review the reports, accounts relating to public undertaking. So even the public undertaking, like whatever you have, no public sector bodies like HAL, BHEL, okay, State Bank of India. So the CAG will audit their account also and submit that report. So the report, budget, etc. of these public undertaking will be looked into. All right, their reports will be looked into it, etc. So like that, it has got, I mean, if I have to just tell you, it has got 22 members, 15 from the Lok Sabha, 7 from Rajya Sabha, proportional representation, 1 year, things like that. So all that, like this, you need to go. And similarly, you have Business Advisory Committee, Committee on Subordinate Legislature, Committee on Welfare of SC and ST, Committee on Absence of Members, Rules Committee. So Rules Committee, you have it in both the houses separately. Okay, then you have General Purpose Committee, Committee on Privileges, House Committee, Library Committee, Ethics Committee, like that. All these are not so important. Just once you read in your book, okay, if you have time. Otherwise, you can just stick to what is there in the news.